Many observers look at a sudden victory and label it accidental fortune, but they rarely see the quiet years spent in the dark. People often claim a rival was blessed by destiny when a massive opening appeared. Yet what about the seasons when the phone sat silent, when nobody cheered and no one took interest? Think about those cold mornings when they rose before dawn to analyze trends, or devoured a thick manual, or mastered a difficult craft. Nobody ever attributes that to serendipity. They categorize it as grit. They call it endurance. However, when that identical labor finally meets its ideal hour, the general public suddenly labels it a miracle. I recall reflecting on my own path, counting every instance I felt a peer had snatched an advantage I was craving. Then, a sharp realization hit me like a cold winter breeze. Perhaps I simply lacked the tools when that break drifted by. It was not that the universe withheld the prize. I was merely unequipped to grasp it. That was a jarring truth to swallow. Yet frequently the most transformative insights come hidden in painful moments. Prosperity does not simply drop from the clouds, it emerges from the earth. The bounty only shocks the individual who never bothered to sow the grain. Isn't it fascinating how the unready blame fate? They tilt their heads in disbelief when a peer surges ahead, but the prepared soul shows no shock. They give a knowing nod and a calm grin, thinking that is exactly right. Because to the diligent, triumph is never a fluke. It is the logical consequence of being ready when the window slides open. And I discovered something vital. The right moment is constantly moving. It surges like a powerful stream. It never halts and never pauses. The real mystery is not if a chance is approaching. The question is whether you are standing by the water with a bucket or empty palms. Opportunity belongs to the one who arrived with the right gear. People witness the flash of glory and ignore the decades of grinding. They see the center stage and disregard the dusty rehearsal hall. They view the trophy and ignore the bruises. They notice the gain and forget the investment. But reality never forgets. Reality maintains a flawless ledger. When readiness and timing eventually lock hands, outsiders scream luck, but you and I recognize the truth. Luck is simply the tag spectators place on someone else's labor. It is the silhouette created by preparation standing in the glare. Fortune is the title the lazy give to the sharp. Once you grasp that, you quit wishing for miracles and start building competence. You stop praying for external shifts and begin refining yourself for the day they arrive. And one morning, when life hands you a prospect that fits your skills perfectly, a stranger will whisper that you are incredibly fortunate. You will just smile, not because they are correct, but because you understand the hidden reality. Fortune favored the ready. Long before the audience claps, long before the deal is inked or the gate unlatches, there is the invisible labor that nobody witnesses. I once assumed the major event birthed the winner. Eventually, I realized the major event only unmasks the winner. The true manufacturing happened months prior. Readiness is a silent process. It makes no noise in the beginning. It occurs at 4 a.m. while the majority are dreaming. It happens past midnight when most have retreated to their blankets. It occurs when you choose research over scrolling, repetition over leisure, and wisdom over distraction. The strange part about this process is that no one applauds while you are doing it. You must develop the skill of being your own fan. I found that certainty isn't a gift you await, it is a structure you build. Confidence isn't a wish, it is a trade. You construct it by executing the tiny ignored duties that forge your soul and sharpen your edge. You do the work months before the crisis hits. That is the secret layer of growth. The world cannot see the roots, but it surely feels the tree. There were chapters in my story where nothing seemed to move on the surface. Everything looked stagnant. However, internally I was collecting instruments. But how do you actually begin remodeling your existence? We provide tactical manuals that demonstrate exactly how to execute that shift. The specific guide for this lesson is linked below. You can find additional blueprints and complementary tools at our community hub. Your commitment has truly expanded your potential. People often say they are waiting for a spark to get moving, but the act of moving is the spark. The very process of getting ready triggers a massive chain reaction. It broadcasts to your subconscious and your patterns that you intend to lead your own life. It proves you are serious about your goals. And the world seems to yield much faster for a person who is truly serious. There is a certain quiet pride in being ready. Nobody watches the hours of drills, but everyone gazes at the score. Nobody observes the years of study, but everyone witnesses the expertise. Nobody notices the private sacrifices, but everyone sees the public poise. That is why refining yourself is such a brilliant gamble. It grows in the dark and pays out in the light. Preparation is a silent investment that pays dividends in the sun. I learned to stop mocking the minor daily repetitions. 1 hour of focus, 1 page of notes, 1 move practice until it is muscle memory. These tiny coins stack up. They create a vault that becomes priceless when the world demands it. We all envy the person who reacts with grace when a crisis hits. But that speed is not invented on the spot. It is the result of slow, rhythmic labor performed over time. So, if you're in a desert where the phone is dead, where prospects are thin and progress is glacial, keep this in mind: the hidden labor is never wasted. You are forging the iron you will need when the furnace burns. You are tilling the ground for a result that will stun the neighbors. And eventually those long, silent hours will speak with a thunderous voice. Growth builds the character long before it builds the bank account. If being ready is the ultimate divider, then routines are the architects. I discovered that you do not ascend to the height of your dreams, you fall to the depth of your habits. Every single day, those routines narrate a tale about your destination. Not eventually, not one day, but right now, in the boring cycles that mold your logic and sharpen your focus. Picking up a book became my first pivot point. A few chapters at dawn, a few at dusk. Nothing cinematic or heroic, just constant mental fuel. I realize you can revolutionize a mind with a few volumes if you study them deeply and frequently. Reading expands the borders. It brings in fresh tactics and audits old mistakes. It provides the terminology for the future you desire. Eventually, you see that readiness isn't just a physical act, it is a mental state. Then there is the routine of checking your map, not once a year when the ball drops, but every morning. Because the human mind is prone to drifting. The world tries to drown your intent. But when you face your targets daily, something electric happens. You stay sharp. You stay awake. You remain tethered to the path you picked. A written objective review daily acts like a magnetic north, dragging you back to center. Journaling added a new layer of depth. Writing clarifies the foggy parts of the brain. A diary is a mirror that never flattery. It highlights trends you might ignore. It shows where your effort is peaking and where your focus is rotting. It traps flashes of genius before they vanish. If reading provides the fuel, journaling provides the engine. Reflection bridges the gap. 5 quiet minutes at midnight asking what succeeded, what failed, and what requires a pivot. Not with shame, but with professional curiosity. Reflection converts trauma into treasure. Without it, you just repeat the same mistakes. With it, every day is a mentor, every error is a memo, and every win is a blueprint. These routines don't scream for attention, they demand only one thing: loyalty. In exchange, they grant you the ultimate weapon, readiness. Not the kind based on a lucky guess, but the kind forged by daily alignment between your current self and your future self. I realize preparation is not a destination, it is a pulse. The brain must be conditioned exactly like an athlete's frame. For those who want to master this curriculum in a deep environment, check the resources in our bio. There you will find an immersive quiet version and a written plan based on these concepts. You can also listen with the display off to avoid the noise. Life reacts differently to a person holding these routines. You hear nuances in talks